Could Jurgen Klopp be available? Well, he's a candidate to take over in the summer at Real Madrid, supposedly. But today, the former Liverpool manager distanced himself from what would be a sensational return to football.
Hat es tatsächlich, aber nicht aus Madrid. Aber tatsächlich gab es natürlich ein paar Leute, die gedacht haben, sie müssten mich direkt darauf ansprechen. Also erstmal ist es, glaube ich, ein weiteres Zeichen dafür, dass irgendwas da gerade nicht hundertprozentig richtig ist da draußen. Wenn Xabi Alonso, der jetzt über 2 Jahre in Leverkusen gezeigt hat, was er für ein herausragendes, ich glaube, in dem Alter darf man so sagen, und bei der Anzahl der Jobs, die er hat, herausragendes Trainertalent ist und dann ein halbes Jahr später bei Madrid gehen muss, zeigt verschiedene Dinge. Zum einen haben wir irgendwie keine Zeit mehr in der heutigen Zeit und zum anderen sind die Ansprüche bei Real natürlich riesengroß. Aus so einer Emotion heraus, gestern Abend Pokalfinale verloren zu haben gegen Barcelona, so eine Entscheidung zu treffen. Man hat die Gerüchte, glaube ich, schon eine Weile gehört. Und jetzt, und ich weiß gar nicht, ob deine Frage darauf hinausgeht, aber hat natürlich mit mir gar nichts zu tun. Und hat in mir auch nichts ausgelöst, falls das die Anschlussfrage gewesen wäre. Ich war überrascht. Das stimmt, war wirklich überrascht. Und dann haben ein paar Leute geschrieben und ich habe unterschiedliche Emojis zurückgeschickt.
So, Carver, he says no. Could you see him at Real Madrid?
Stance on that because I've got a German O-level. But
see, by saying O-level, you've already dated yourself. But carry on.
Good point.
Young at heart.
I think it's difficult to see Jurgen Klopp managing Real Madrid. Everything Jurgen Klopp stands for, his philosophy, I think that is something that would be a strange fit at Real Madrid. Having said that, our colleagues at Sky Germany, obviously who have very good contacts across this story, what they're reporting today is never say never. They believe that Real Madrid are interested in taking Jurgen Klopp in the summer, and they believe that Jurgen Klopp perhaps may in some shape or form be interested. That is what Sky Germany are reporting today. Okay. They're not saying that he's going to become the next Real Madrid manager. He's happy doing the job that he's doing at Red Bull. But I think if Real Madrid do contact your agent, it is a conversation that you do have with your agent.
OK. Hello again. This is the Transfer Show. We're going to talk Xabi Alonso now, following his sacking at Real Madrid. Could we see him in the Premier League? Michael, Premier League clubs must be on alert, surely.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when someone leaves, a manager sometimes leaves Real Madrid, their reputation isn't totally dented. We've seen some huge names leave Real Madrid and it's not massively affected them. Can't forget what he did at Bayer Leverkusen. You know, it's unthinkable Bayern Munich not winning over there. And he won that league with bells on, domestic cup, lost the Europa League final. There's something special about him. I don't think, you know, a difficult spell at Real Madrid's going to stop potential suitors. I tell you what, Mike, I'm going to say it now. We could have a manager transfer show in the summer. Yeah. Honestly, you got Pochettino, Tuchel, you've got a number of managers who are going to be out. And I don't want to mention managers who have got contracts at clubs now, but there are some who probably won't sign new deals at Premier League clubs. Actually, that's a great idea. Let's do a manager transfer show. But no, like he will be discussed by a number of big clubs, I'm sure, in the Premier League over the coming weeks.
Michael just touched on his reputation. It's being briefed that he couldn't manage the big names at Real Madrid. If that's true, how damaging is it to get another top job somewhere else in Europe?
I don't think it's damaging at all because Real Madrid are a special case. The manager is not the most important person at Real Madrid. The most important person is the president, and then it's the big egos, the Galacticos in the dressing room, and then it's the manager. What went wrong for Xabi Alonso is that he tried to make Real Madrid more of a team. He tried to make them more disciplined. He tried to make the players trap back and defend more. And he fell out with some big egos in that dressing room. I think that is what did for him. And I thought that you could see all that at the end of the Super Cup on Sunday in Saudi Arabia. At the end of the game, Xabi Alonso was trying to get his players to form a guard of honour for the Barcelona players. And there was Kylian Mbappe on the pitch saying to his teammates, no, don't form a guard of honour, let's go back to the dressing room. And instead of listening to their manager, the players listened to Kylian Mbappe, and it looked like the writing was on the wall then and there. Now, I don't think there's a dressing room in the Premier League which is anywhere near as political and ego-driven as the dressing room at Real Madrid. So, simple answer to your question is, I think if he got a chance in the Premier League, he would be a big, big success. And to echo what Michael said, just because you failed at Real Madrid doesn't mean you're a failure.
All right, let's expand it then. So you're saying, yep, he could end up in the Premier League. Michael, should Arne Slot be worried?
Or Thomas Frank?
Oh, blimey. Well, look, I think Arne Slot, let's start it off here. No one expects him to win the league last season. Well done to him for that. But it's not me just saying it. They've not been very good champions, have they? And it's not been a good title defence whatsoever. They've picked up, for sure. And I like the way he's handled the Mo Salah situation. The fact that we're not talking about him on any of our shows, I think, is a bit of credit needs to be given to Arne Slot there. He diffused the situation, played him in the penultimate game before he went to AFCON. I think he deserves a bit of credit for that. However, if they go on a bit of a bad run again, things don't go well maybe in the Champions League, there will be fans, online, social media, podcasts, you name it. Naturally, his name will be brought up.
OK, so that was all about Liverpool. What about Spurs?
Well, they've got a manager, Cav. They've got a manager. But, I mean, they're going to get the band back together. Teddy Sheringham, Darren Ander and Nick Barmby, just like at Man United.
Sky in Germany are reporting Jurgen Klopp is a candidate to become Real Madrid head coach. That's if the club decide to make a new appointment in the summer. In an interview with German TV, Jurgen Klopp had this to say: "My phone did actually ring, but not from Madrid. There were, however, a few people who felt they needed to bring it up with me. In general, it's a sign that not everything there is 100% right when Xabi Alonso, who showed over 2 years in Leverkusen what an outstanding coaching talent he is, has to leave Real Madrid just half a year later." He went on, "I really feel sorry for him because I consider him a great coach. It has nothing to do with me and didn't trigger anything in me either. The coaching market is being reshuffled, and it's not a bad thing to experience all of this from an observer's perspective and not think about what it might mean for yourself because you're in the right place where you are."
What is new and what we can reveal is that Jurgen Klopp is still a candidate for Real Madrid in case that they decide to appoint a new manager in the summer. And this is much more important. Despite Klopp's long-term contract with Red Bull and his appreciation for all of the Red Bull project, we can say that Real Madrid hold a major appeal for Jurgen Klopp. And if Real Madrid were to make a serious move for Jurgen Klopp, we can say Klopp would give it a serious consideration. He would seriously consider to return as a head coach, and he is serious considering to join Real Madrid in summer.
The man in charge at the moment is that man, Alvaro Arbeloa, who took Real training this morning. His first game in charge will be the Copa del Rey round of 16 match at second division side Albacete tomorrow. He becomes the 17th manager under current Real Madrid president Florentino Perez.
Creo que tenemos una relación de amistad que está por encima de muchísimas cosas, y la relación que tenemos, como te he dicho antes, hablamos ayer un buen rato y evidentemente me deseó lo mejor, y yo también a él, porque es un grandísimo entrenador. Estoy seguro que le va a ir muy bien en el futuro y vamos a estar juntos siempre como lo hemos estado. Creo que en el Real Madrid lleva 23 años de historia, y es difícil que le reconozcan alguna vez que ha jugado bien, ¿no? Sabemos la exigencia que tiene, y aquí ha habido entrenadores que han ganado 3 Champions y era porque cuando acababan de entrenar, se iban a su casa a regar el jardín. O sea que sé dónde estoy.
As for Alonso, he put a short statement out today on his Instagram account. He said this stage of my career has come to an end, and it has not turned out as we would have liked. Coaching Real Madrid has been an honour and a responsibility. I am grateful to the club, the players, and above all, the fans. I leave with respect, gratitude, and pride in having done my best.
I think his reputation hasn't really been damaged by what has happened at Real Madrid. He's still got an incredible CV because of what he achieved at Bayer Leverkusen. So I think he can have his pick of some of the biggest jobs in world football this summer. And those jobs are not just going to be jobs in the Premier League. There could be jobs available as well at clubs like PSG, for instance. Luis Enrique could be leaving. There could be other big jobs available in places like Italy, Germany as well. So I think he's going to go away, lick his wounds, recharge his batteries. And I think deep down he'll know failing at Real Madrid doesn't mean you're a failure.
West Ham and Bolton midfielder Matt Taylor is our guest this evening. Jurgen Klopp has distanced himself from what would be a sensational return to management with Real Madrid. Alvaro Arbeloa has stepped up from coaching the reserve team to take charge, but Sky in Germany are reporting that Klopp is a candidate to take over in the summer. Klopp, though, says he's happy where he is. In an interview with German TV, the former Liverpool manager said, "My phone did actually ring, but not from Madrid. There were, however, a few people who felt they needed to bring it up with me. In general, it's a sign that not everything there is 100% right. When Xabi Alonso, who showed over 2 years in Leverkusen what an outstanding coaching talent he is, has to leave Real Madrid just half a year later. I really feel sorry for him because I consider him a great coach. It has nothing to do with me and didn't trigger anything in me either. The coaching market is being reshuffled and it's not a bad thing to experience all of this from an observer's perspective and not think about what it might mean for yourself because you're in the right place where you are."
What is new and what we can reveal is that Jurgen Klopp is still a candidate for Real Madrid in case that they decide to appoint a new manager in the summer. And this is much more important. Despite Klopp's long-term contract with Red Bull and his appreciation for all of the Red Bull project, we can say that Real Madrid hold a major appeal for Jurgen Klopp. And if Real Madrid were to make a serious move for Jurgen Klopp, we can say Klopp would give it a serious consideration. He would seriously consider to return as a head coach, and he is serious considering to join Real Madrid in summer.
I think if you're Jurgen Klopp, you can't really say no to Real Madrid. I mean, nobody really says no to Real Madrid. With the squad that they have, I think what Klopp would look into, though, is that Xabi Alonso came in with a clear idea of what he wanted, with a dressing room that he wanted to work in a certain way, far away from the Carlo Ancelotti chilled approach, let's say, a very pragmatic approach. He had a plan, he wanted them to work on certain things, he was quite demanding, and that didn't work out. So for Jurgen Klopp to come, with all the gegenpressing and all the intensity and all of that, he will have to also be a bit more like Carlo Ancelotti than being like Xabi Alonso if he wants to succeed there. But I mean, it would be amazing for Mbappe and Vinicius and the others to have Klopp on the bench.
Some interesting points there, Matt, from Julien Laurent to pick up on. Do you feel, in a way, for him, it would be no lose in the sense that Real Madrid burn through managers so quickly that it would not be seen as a negative on his CV if he went there and was only there a season or so?
To answer your question, I don't know, because, and the reason I say that is Jurgen Klopp is a manager that has been hugely successful with Liverpool. What he did with Dortmund, the way he connects a football club with the supporters, his enthusiasm, I think he'd be a great fit for Real Madrid. I look at the size of the football club that Real Madrid are. I look at him as a personality, the way in which he comes across in the media, but more importantly, the affection that his players have for him as a manager. That always tells you a lot when the manager leaves and how his players talk about him. Whether it's a free hit for everybody outside, it might be. I would say that if Jurgen Klopp took that job, there's only one thing he would want to do. That would be to win the league and to win the Champions League with Real Madrid. They're a huge football club with obviously a lot of history. So would he be a good fit? In my opinion, yes.
The point about his character is really interesting, that he does have that personality to command a club like Real Madrid. But does it feel a slightly less natural fit? That he's always sort of been at clubs where they've been the underdogs looking to sort of mess with the elite. So at Dortmund, you're punching up at Bayern Munich. At Liverpool, he always felt, I think, like he was punching up at Manchester City, that they are the team to be shot at if he is the manager of
I'd say he's won the Premier League with Liverpool. So expectation now, I think he'll deal with a lot better. So he will have changed as a person, as a coach and as a manager. What I like about him is he's very forthright. He has a very clear understanding and a very clear way of wanting to play. His teams are high energy. They have to run, right? They have to get after teams. But I'll go back to the players. They all play with smiles on their faces. I don't recall one of his players being substituted and chucking out their dummy. They go over to him. They have a huge respect for him as a man, first and foremost. If Real Madrid managed to get him, I think it would be as good a coup for them as it would be for him to be the manager of Real Madrid.
You talked there about the pressing and the running. There was a quote of his from 2023 which he said about Liverpool at the time: the ticket into this team will be about counter-pressing. That's where it starts. We've had so many games that I didn't like. That's a pretty strict thing. Do you think he's going to be able to coax Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Junior into counter-pressing and running around a bit more?
Well, it's quite simple. If he's the guy that's in charge, if you don't do what he says, you don't play.
Is that possible at Real Madrid, though? Do you think sometimes there are players that are bigger than the manager, almost bigger than the club?
I think you're always going to have that slightly, but I look at him and he's not anybody. He's Jurgen Klopp. He walks into that dressing room the first day, he instantly gains respect. And look, you don't want to take away the flair from individuals, especially players like of that ilk that you've just mentioned. However, if he was going to get the job, I'm sure that there would be aspects that he would expect those players to do that maybe they haven't been asked to do so before. But the proof would be in the pudding. If he gets these players to run, if Mbappe has to counter-press and all of a sudden Real Madrid are winning the ball back higher up the pitch and Mbappe's stats are going from 20 goals a season to 28, then you've got the players buy-in. So it'll be interesting to see what pans out.
All right, what about the man who has left then, Xabi Alonso? He put out a short statement today on Instagram. He said, "This stage of my career has come to an end and it has not turned out as we would have liked. Coaching Real Madrid has been an honour and a responsibility. I am grateful to the club, the players and above all the fans. I leave with respect, gratitude and pride in having done my best."
The club president, Florentino Perez, wasn't really convinced that Alonso was the right man for the job. There's been issues with some players in the dressing room as well, including especially Vinicius, but also other big names in the dressing room who didn't really buy into all the methods that Alonso had, his way of coaching the team. He's a very intense guy. He wanted to set up the team in a particular way. He asked a lot from all of his players. He wanted his big name attackers to work really hard off the ball, to press back. Just hasn't worked out for Alonso the way that Alonso thought that it would and the way a lot of us kind of hoped that it would or expected it to. And yeah, it's been huge news and unfortunate maybe for Alonso. Things haven't worked out for him, but not a huge surprise the way it happened.
Just to sort of tie in two of the things we've already spoken about with Carve and the summer market for managers and also leaving a club where you don't necessarily tarnish your reputation. It feels like that may be the case with Xabi Alonso, that no one's going to think he's a bad coach because it's not quite worked here.
Agree with you, but I think part of the reasoning for that is what he achieved at Leverkusen, how he did it. The unbeaten run that they went on was astonishing. I remember checking the results. I didn't really used to check the results in Germany, checking the results just to see if he and his team had kept that unbeaten run going. Look, he'll be hurt right now. When you lose your job, it hurts. There'll be a period of reflection for him. He'll come out of this experience a better coach and a better manager. I guarantee you for that. So he will get another top job. The way in which he handles himself, the way in which he's handled the media has been first class. He was an unbelievable footballer. I think he'll go on to be a very, very good, exceptional manager who will want to win things domestically wherever he goes.
Just on the point then about dealing with big name players, you'd have worked under Sam Allardyce and Harry Redknapp, who at times would have had players you would say were far bigger than the rest of the dressing room. How did they manage that? And I think of an example at Bolton of someone like Nicolas Anelka. Was he allowed a little bit more rope than the rest to do his own thing or not?
I think the only way in which that would ever become relevant would be that player, said player, whomever that is, at whatever football club it is, has to be doing the business on the football pitch. Because what you can't do is you can't have a group of players one side of the dressing room that are working hard and then one player who's given a bit more leeway but doesn't perform on a Saturday. As a player, if my teammate was maybe having one day off a week, but every Saturday he was a match winner, I would accept that. It's a real skill to be able to find a manager that is comfortable with that. First of all, he has to manage that player, but then he's got to manage the rest of the group, because the expectation on whether it be Mbappe at Real Madrid has got to be that come Saturday, he's got to perform. So it doesn't matter what he does in the week, providing that he goes and performs at the weekend. So it's a difficult problem. It happens at every level of football, happens at every football club where you'll have the better players or the best players, the flair players, but you've also got the players underneath them who have to support them, because the players that have got the flair, they can't go and do their business if the rest of the team aren't supporting them.
I'll lure some names out of you in the break as to who.
Indumentaria, la Kings Limited Gold Edition, solo hay 50 unidades de todos los equipos y también puede ser vuestra entrando en kingsleague.pro, así que es los datos a tener en cuenta en cuanto a indumentarias. Gran partido, Gonzalo, Gerard, el que tenemos por delante.
Ojo, ojo, estilo La Bombonera, estadio de River.
Hostia, más minutos de retraso en el inicio, ¿eh? Ya tenemos lío.
Lo llamó Edo, dibujando la parábola sobre la banda derecha, donde en el vértice del área aparece Nadir. ¡Nadir para adentro! ¡Gol! De Nadir Lua, que tiene una facilidad pasmosa. Encuentra a Pablo, qué balón para Nadir para el segundo. Se zafa de Cócera, es un golazo. ¡Es un golazo! Señoras, señores, bienvenidos al show de Nadir Lua. Pibe.
El mejor.
Vamos
haciendo espionaje, ¿eh?
Vaya mierda dado, pibe. Va, ya te puedes ir a la cúpula a comer, va.
Hay que salir Cócera para entregar hacia el centro. Se la regala Coy, le puede pegar Coy para adentro.
Vaya chicha, nano.
¡Gol! De Porcinos Óscar Coy. Ah, pues sí.
Pero es que, señores.
Pero te lo dije,
tenemos, ¿cómo lo usamos? Penalti.
Penalti.
Será penalti.
Cuni.
Puede meter en el partido a Cuni. Jordi para adentro, qué golazo.
¡Guau!
¡Dios!
¡Gol! Vamos con Nadir Lua y con Laura Vizcaíno.
Pues sí, Nadir, 2 goles, victoria y a cuartos, enhorabuena.
Sí, sabíamos que el partido iba a ser muy importante porque veníamos de una muy mala dinámica. El equipo ha estado bien, sufríamos defensivamente y creo que hemos estado muy juntitos y nada, primer objetivo cumplido.
Os espera Science, rival complicado, imagino.
Sí, empatamos contra ellos y en shootout perdimos, ha quedado segundo por algo. Nada, concentración, confianza con nosotros mismos y intentar ganar para el sábado estar en el Wizzing.
Os lo veremos mañana, mucha suerte.